December 1946, Nuremberg, Germany. A war crimes courtroom so quiet you can hear paper turning. A young German woman leans into the microphone and says something that makes the judges frown. The first thing they told us was, "Show us your feet." The courtroom pauses. Feet? In a trial about gas chambers, mass murder, and the worst crimes in human history, why are we talking about feet? Because those four words, "Show us your feet," blew apart years of Nazi lies and created a moment so strange, so human, it followed her all the way to Nuremberg. And if you stay to the end, you'll understand why. Cut back 8 months. April 1945, Western Germany. Cold rain, mud everywhere. A temporary POW camp near the Rhine. Inside a long canvas tent, 47 German women stand in a tight line. They're not SS, they're radio operators, clerks, drivers, nurses, women who worked inside the German war machine, and now they're prisoners. They've heard the stories their whole lives. Americans will torture you, they'll humiliate you, they'll revenge kill you. Some of them had repeated one sentence for months like a prayer: better to die than fall into enemy hands. So they stand there waiting for the first blow, and then an American sergeant steps inside, water dripping off his helmet. He looks at the line and gives an order so bizarre it freezes the entire tent. Boots off, socks off, show us your feet. For a second, nobody moves, because this isn't what they prepared for. Not an interrogation, not a beating, a foot inspection. The tent smells like wet wool, sweat, fear. Outside, the war is still roaring somewhere in the distance. Inside, the women are trying to decode the moment. Is this a trick? A humiliation ritual? A setup? One young woman whispers, "Why would they care about our feet?" But then they notice something behind the sergeant. Not cameras, not execution details. Medics, Red Cross armbands, lanterns, metal basins, a pot of water warming on a stove. It looks like a field clinic, and that makes it even more confusing. The oldest woman in the line steps forward first, hands shaking from cold. She unties her boots. She hasn't taken them off in days, maybe longer. When the leather finally peels away, the sock clings like glue. And when it comes off, the American medic doesn't laugh, doesn't sneer, doesn't insult her. He just leans in, eyes narrowing. Then he signals for more light. Quietly, to another medic, he says, "We've got trench foot." Trench foot, a condition armies fear because it doesn't kill you fast, it ruins you slowly. Cold, wet, no circulation, skin breaks down. Infection crawls in. And as the medics move down the line, they realize it's not a few bad feet, it's almost everyone. Some feet are swollen like balloons, some toes are numb and gray, some socks are literally stuck to skin. The women are bracing for cruelty. Instead, they're watching the enemy go into medical alarm. This is the moment the story becomes a paradox. Their own army had marched them until their bodies broke, but the enemy is spending time, supplies, and attention trying to save their feet. Warm water is poured into basins. Hands, American hands, start washing German feet in the mud. Powder is shaken under raw skin, bandages wrapped tight, names written down on forms. One prisoner blurts out through an interpreter, "Why are you doing this? We're your enemy." And the medic answers, simple as gravity, "Because you're patients now." That sentence hits harder than any slap. because it doesn't match anything they were taught.
Then it gets worse. A 19-year-old, trembling, refuses to take off her boots, not because she's brave, because she's hiding something. The interpreter repeats the order, gently but firm. That wasn't a request. She sits down, unties the laces, pulls. The boot comes off, and fresh blood appears immediately. The sock is dark, crusted. When it finally slides down, the medic inhales sharply. The sole of her foot is torn up, and inside the flesh are tiny points that catch the lantern light. Glass. She stepped through a shattered storefront weeks earlier during the retreat. No time to stop, no doctors, no bandages, just marching. So she kept walking on broken glass. For weeks. The American medic pulls out tweezers and begins working. One piece, then another, then another. Each shard drops into a metal tray with a sharp clink. It sounds like counting. The girl bites her lip so hard her mouth trembles. She refuses to cry in front of the enemy. But then, something happens that destroys her world. The medic's hands keep moving, and his eyes fill with tears. A German prisoner looks at him like he's seeing an alien. She whispers in broken English, "Why you cry?" The medic swallows and says, "My little sister died from an infection back home. I joined as a medic so I'd never watch that happen again." Silence. In that moment, she understands something the Reich never wanted her to understand. The enemy isn't a monster. He's a human. And suddenly, the propaganda posters in her head start peeling off the walls. That night, the tent changes. The worst of the mud is pushed aside. Lantern light glows warm. And then the medics step back, because a new group enters. American nurses. They kneel in the mud with basins and towels, and they begin doing something that feels unreal. They wash the prisoners' feet, not standing over them, kneeling. For women raised in Christian Europe, the image hits like lightning. It looks like a Bible story. A German woman whispers, "This feels like church, but we're not the ones being forgiven." One prisoner, still clinging to Nazi slogans, spits out, "This is theater. They're doing it for propaganda." And then one nurse stands up. She doesn't argue, she doesn't lecture. She rolls up her sleeve, and on her forearm are numbers, a faded camp tattoo. The tent goes dead silent. Through the interpreter, the nurse says quietly, "I was in Auschwitz." The prisoners stare, because they were told Auschwitz was a lie. They were told the rumors were enemy propaganda, and now a woman with an Auschwitz number is standing in front of them in an American uniform, kneeling to wash their feet. She looks at the prisoner who called it theater and says, "There are no cameras, only choices." Then she kneels back down and continues washing. That's the moment the Nazi world collapses in real time. Not from a speech, not from a bomb, from a sleeve rolled up in a basin of warm water. Months later, after the war ends, some of those women end up working in hospitals, cleaning, carrying supplies, helping the wounded, not because anyone forces them, because something broke open inside them in that muddy tent. They saw two systems side by side, a regime that preached strength, then abandoned its own people to rot, and an enemy that treated wounded feet like a problem to solve, not a punishment to enjoy. And then, we return to where we started. December 1946, Nuremberg. The prosecutor asks the young woman one last question. "When you became a prisoner, what was the first thing the Americans said to you?" She leans into the microphone and answers, "Show us your feet." The courtroom hears it in multiple languages through headsets, and suddenly everyone understands why that sentence matters. Because the Nazis didn't just lie about the Jews, they lied about humanity. And in one muddy tent, with one strange order, that lie died. So here's the question. If you were raised on propaganda your entire life, and the first thing your enemy did was save you, would you be strong enough to admit you were wrong? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want more true World War II stories told like a movie, subscribe, hit like, and I'll see you in the next one.